It was a bright spring afternoon in Boston. Mothers filled the local park, pushing strollers and exchanging stories, while children tumbled down slides and screamed in delight. Among them sat a young woman on a worn wooden bench, cradling her infant son against her chest. Her name was Emily Carter, 26 years old, first-time mother, and 3 weeks into the most beautiful yet exhausting chapter of her life. She looked nervous. Her baby, Jonah, had started fussing, tiny fists clenched in the air. She knew what he wanted. Looking around, Emily hesitated. Her diaper bag carried a nursing cover, but in the rush to leave the house, she had forgotten it. With no bottle, and no other choice, she gently lifted her shirt and positioned Jonah to breastfeed, shielding herself with her arm and turning slightly toward the tree behind the bench. But peace didn't last long. A middle-aged woman with a yoga mat under her arm and a self-important air walked by, slowed down, and sneered, "Disgusting. Couldn't you do that at home or in your car? There are children here." Emily's cheeks flushed with shame. She instinctively turned more toward the tree, her arms trembling. That's when she heard a voice. Calm. Firm. And deeply kind. "She's feeding her child," the man said. "That's what my wife used to do, too. Right here. On this bench." Emily looked up. A tall man with soft eyes and a toddler clinging to his hand stood nearby. His voice wasn't aggressive, just honest. The yoga mat woman gave a huff and walked off. Emily's heart was pounding, her eyes stinging from the sting of shame and now, this unexpected kindness. "Thank you," she whispered. The man nodded. "Don't let anyone make you feel small for doing something so human." Emily had always been self-sufficient. Growing up in a working-class home, she learned to work hard, love deeply, and never ask for help unless absolutely necessary. When she married her college sweetheart, Ben, they had dreams of building a modest, happy life together. But dreams don't always unfold the way you plan. Ben passed away in a car accident just 2 months before Jonah was born. It shattered Emily's world. Her pregnancy became a quiet, lonely journey. Family helped when they could, but grief isolates in ways even love can't bridge. She spent many nights holding her belly and whispering stories to her unborn child, hoping to feel closer to the man she lost. Now, here she was, alone in motherhood, stumbling through the fog, doing the best she could with what little sleep and guidance she had. And the park had become her escape. The only place she felt some sense of normalcy. Until today. After the woman walked off, the man, David Morris, sat down at the far end of the bench with his son, Tyler. He didn't say much at first, letting the silence settle. But he noticed Emily's shaky hands as she buttoned her shirt back up and gently rocked Jonah to sleep. "I lost my wife last year," he said softly. Emily turned her head slowly toward him. She had cancer. Diagnosed late. Tyler was only a few months old. There was no pity in his tone, only memory. She used to breastfeed Tyler wherever he needed it. Grocery store, airport, church. She didn't care. "I cared at first, what people thought. But then I saw how much it calmed him, how connected they were. I stopped caring." Emily gave him a small smile. "I'm sorry you lost her," she said. David nodded. "I'm sorry you felt ashamed today." Over the next few weeks, Emily and David started to run into each other more often. Sometimes at the park, sometimes at the local coffee shop where she'd grab a decaf and he'd pick up a muffin for Tyler. It started with polite smiles, then longer conversations, then sharing parenting struggles. David had left his job in marketing to work freelance from home, just to be present for Tyler. Emily was on maternity leave and unsure whether she could return to her retail manager job with a newborn and no partner to help. One day, as they sat under a tree while the boys napped in their strollers, David said, "You're doing great, you know. You don't hear that enough." Tears welled in Emily's eyes. "Some days, I feel like I'm just surviving." "That's enough," he said. "Surviving is strong. Especially when you're alone." That afternoon, something shifted. Two broken hearts began to lean on each other, not romantically, at least not yet, but in a way that made grief less heavy. It was during a playgroup event a few weeks later that another incident occurred. Emily had been invited by one of the neighborhood moms to a "Mommy and Me" circle at the community center. Nervous but hopeful, she arrived with Jonah in a carrier, only to find the group largely made up of married mothers, luxury diaper bags, and airbrushed perfection. Still, she smiled, introduced herself, and found a seat. When Jonah started fussing again, she instinctively prepared to feed him. But this time, someone snapped a photo. A whisper started. A comment followed. "I don't know why some women feel the need to expose themselves in public like this. It's attention-seeking, honestly." Emily froze. Before she could react, a familiar voice spoke behind her. "Is this the group where we shame mothers for being mothers? Just want to make sure I'm in the right place." Everyone turned. David stood at the entrance, Tyler in tow. He walked in, placed a bottle on the table beside Emily, and said, "Jonah forgot his bottle at the park. But looks like he prefers the real thing anyway." Laughter broke the tension. A few moms giggled, others looked away in embarrassment. Emily whispered, "Did you follow me here?" "No," David smiled. "Your stroller's bottle holder is empty, and Tyler told me you were going to the center. So we came." That day, something else shifted. The quiet judgment Emily had faced began to shrink beneath the light of kindness and solidarity. Weeks passed. Emily grew more confident, not only as a mother but as a woman who had survived pain and still stood tall. She and David had become close. There were moments, brief, unspoken, where their eyes lingered a little longer, laughter came a little easier. One afternoon, the park held a community picnic. Emily helped organize it, baking cookies and creating a parent support tent with seating and supplies for feeding, diapering, and resting. As she handed out plates and guided children through the games, she noticed something beautiful: 3 mothers breastfeeding openly under the tent she set up, laughing, talking, no shame in sight. An older woman approached Emily. "Are you the one who set up the tent?" she asked. "I am." The woman smiled. "My daughter just had a baby. She's always nervous about feeding in public. But today, she looked so calm. Thank you for making that happen." Emily's eyes welled with tears. She hadn't realized the ripple her actions had created. Later that day, David found her sitting quietly under the tree where they'd first talked. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded. I never thought I'd be the one to help someone else feel less alone." David smiled. "You helped me, too." She looked up. "You reminded me what real strength looks like," he added. "What love looks like. You didn't hide your struggles. You showed up anyway. That's brave." A beat passed. "Emily," he began, hesitating. "I know we've both lost a lot. But maybe we could try, starting something new. Slowly. Together." Her heart fluttered. Not from romance, but from the possibility of healing, of building something not to replace the past, but to honor it. She smiled. "I'd like that." 6 months later, the community center launched a new initiative, the Nurture Corner, a support space for new parents, featuring breastfeeding lounges, mental health check-ins, and play circles. Emily was at the forefront, sharing her story publicly for the first time. As she stood at the podium on opening day, holding Jonah on her hip, she said, "When I first became a mother, I felt invisible. Worse, I was made to feel ashamed of something natural and beautiful. But someone stood beside me, not to rescue me, but to remind me I wasn't alone. And now, I hope to do the same for others." The room erupted in applause. David stood in the back, Tyler on his shoulders, clapping with tears in his eyes. In a world that often moves too fast, where judgment can be louder than kindness, Emily had carved a space of gentleness, where mothers could simply be, without apology. And in that space, hearts began to heal. Not through grand gestures, but through quiet, everyday courage. Because sometimes, all it takes is one voice saying, "That's what my wife did, too," to remind someone they belong.